Okay, well, continuing on with the head replacement, head gasket replacement. I'm trying to got all my parts. Got a new spark plug. It was way bad. A new head gasket. New fuel filter, oil filter, and then a new aluminum push rod. So, anyways, I've cleaned up basically just cleaned up the carburetor, make sure everything was good. Didn't rebuild it or anything. It was running just fine. So, let's move on. So, here I am. Here's all the parts. Here's the new push rod. Aluminum one. You can see it's just checking for height. You can see it's slightly different in height, but that's because of the little bow we have in that component. I like to use the Briggs & Stratton parts, at least the ones that are made for it, just so I know I got the right part, and I like the champion plugs for it. So anyway, it's exactly what I needed. Let's see, we'll put in here's the old gasket. I had used it just to do a compression test, and I actually put some silicone on it to seal it, just so that that's what the red is you see on there. But anyways, exact same one. It says 31. So, like I said, it's the exact same head gasket. Just doesn't have spot where basically the head gasket failed at, which is right between the push rod galley and the head, which was right there, and that's all cleaned up. So the head's cleaned up. So the old plug, I don't know if I got a good picture of this last time. I was Mr. Shaky, still am, but it's amazing how much carbonization is on there. So, and that's after it's been cleaned up a little bit. So anyway, yep, same plug. All right, let's get the head back on. We'll get that back on, and then we'll put the push rods back in and the rockers, and then we'll adjust that. We'll adjust the rockers on it. Okay, there's all the parts laid out. Valve covers. There's the carburetor assembly, and so there's all the pieces, head bolts, rockers, those little, is what goes on the rocker stud. Over here, so that's what all the rockers, there's the valves, and everything's been installed. It's ready to go, clean. Surfaces are cleaned, ready to go ahead and install this. Alright, so need to torque these down to 220 inch-pounds or 18.3 foot-pounds. I have my grandfather's torque wrench. I have rebuilt many cars with him and on my own with this torque wrench. Everybody laughs at me because it's just a little dial. Like, how do you know you got it just perfect? It's from Montgomery Ward Powercraft. Every time I use it, I remember my grandfather. And I think he comes over and, you know, reminds me it's his tool. I love him. Anyways, that's what I'll be using. You need to do these heads. I put a picture of it in this video, the order that you're supposed to torque them in. and you step them 1/3 at a time, with your final torque being basically 220 inch-pounds. So, anyways, here we go. Okay, so I know somebody's going to ask, like, well, how do you read that gauge when you're doing this? So I can't. I have to be able to hold on the block, but I'm not at the full torque yet. But the way you read this has a swivel here, so you're always pulling from this point. So from here to here, basically, is the torque. Basically, that's, and so that needle, because it's separated down here, what I see is just the deflection. So as I'm torquing this, I'll take this right to just above 10. There's 12. So that's how you do it. It's not perfect. I will one day, and I probably need to get a clicker. The newer ones, they're very nice, but for things like this, I love to pull out my old PAP-APs. Since I'm a PAP-AP 2, I like to pull out PAP-AP's torque wrench. And I've did the heads on the 4Runner. I've done them on pretty much every car I've worked on. So, anyways, I'm going to keep torquing them. Before I put it in, I always will just put a little bit of assembly lube right there on the tip, because it'll be dry when it starts. Anyways, you can kind of feel when you're down in there that it's in. You can also see down through the side, but it kind of just fits right into a little tiny hole. And I do that for both the intake and the exhaust. I just drop them in right down into that little cup that I saw. That right there, that's the lifter. Basically, it's what rides on top of the camshaft, and that little lifter, basically, it's a solid lifter, rides on the camshaft, and it just opens and closes the valves in the proper sequence and time. So, really simple. If you're putting it together, you want it at top dead center. On the side, you can see that the exhaust valve is higher than the intake. And basically, as I turn the crank, you can see that it will start to go down. Till they're even. Anyways, can you see the mark over here? This is the ignition piece. This is where it sends basically the timing to tell the spark plug to fire, which it also helps you to know like where top dead center is. So anyways, you can also tell just by feeling them as they go up and down, which I've done. So I know they're also in their lifters properly, and I'll basically put some assembly lube on this and the rockers down the bottom where those fit, and on top of the nuts. I always double check. So the bottom is the intake and the top is the exhaust. You would think that, oh, I'm just looking straight across here, there's the intake, that should be the intake. But if you look down inside, basically the intake valve is here. It goes in and down, so it crosses through here. This is the intake. This is the exhaust. So steel with the intake, aluminum with the exhaust. Okay, you think I didn't have enough sleep. Steel with the exhaust, aluminum with the intake. Anyways, I've lubricated these set screws. Now, one of them was slightly darker than the other one, which would have been the exhaust, but I'm going to be resetting them anyways. There's this little tiny set screw in there. That sets the actual height. So that's how you actually set. And goes on like so. And it's in the say hi to the family, Mom.
Hello, family.
Stop for a minute because it's raining. I've been waiting for a while. Bert just got home. Wow. And we got a lightning alert, so. Ooh, listen to that, Lisa. Like old times, huh?
Yeah. Home, Colorado Springs.
Yeah. We haven't got rain in a long time. At least here, I mean, like, it's been a month. We just got a good rain.
It was a really dry spring.
A beautiful place. Lighting a little bit, but our garden. No, that's way too bright. Needs it. We've got drip lines to every one of the plants, so controlling it just in the valves. Where you adjust the valves is you have this little Allen wrench in the end of it. You loosen the nut slightly if you want to go, if you want more clearance. You loosen it, tighten this down to the point you want. So the way I've set it is this is 4 to 6. This one has the 11. So looking at my feeler gauges, there's my 6. So 4 to 6. 6 is it fits. It's a very tight fit, which is good. 7 will not fit, which is what I want. 5 goes in easily. So it's just a little on the wider side. Got 2 on that. Okay. Tried to fit in there just a second ago. I have to adjust it. Now it goes. That's how you do it. You'll just have to play with it. You back this off, loosen the nut, go in a little bit if you want it to be further out. If you want it tighter, then back it off, turn this in. So anyway, you have to do it for both. This is basically 4 to 6, and this is 9 to 11. So I make it tight on 11. It won't go in at 12. But anyways, just trying to set it right at the between. So this would be a 10, and this would be a 5. That's what I'm really trying to set them to. In the middle, but anyways, they're good either way. Okay, so the valves are adjusted. This is an 11. It's a very tight 11. 10. Those are flat up there, so it's hard to get in. This is a good 10. 9 fits fine. On the bottom side, here's a 6. It's very tight 6. And then the 5. Make sure you don't get them doubled up. That's fine. So, okay, valves are tightened, valves were adjusted. Put that back on. It's all much better. It was so loose last time. Anyways, there we go. Okay, get the valve cover gasket on. Just putting these on. You don't put these on very tight. And I go back in and I just check them. Oops. I got there. These are not tins. That's what's so crazy about these Craftsman. Half of it's made with American, the other half is made with metric. So, gotta have both. Okay, anyways, that's on. I'll just hook the cables on. I'll change the oil, but that's pretty it. It's pretty much all done. Nothing else really to do. Put the spark plug in and bring it down and start it up.